My name is Brian Griffin. I was born on the 13th of April, 1948. I was born in the city of Birmingham and lived in a street called Stocking Street. My eyes are blue. My hair is brown. My shoes are size 9.5, and my waist is 28. And my neck size is 15.5. The most important aspect of portrait photography are the eyes and the hands.
It needs to be enigmatic, it needs to have enigma, and needs to have an element of mystery within it. It has to be entertaining. Well, inevitably it will become entertaining because of those aspects. Because if it takes 2 or 3 seconds for someone to look at your picture and walk away, if it's something that the human mind cannot really understand or wants to understand and is going to work it out, it'll stay looking at the picture for some time or a lot longer. And it's generally because of unanswered questions within the image. The image has not answered all the questions. No, I was expecting to just be an office worker, you know, earning a normal everyday wage. I didn't realize I'd be one of the highest paid people in the world, sort of 10 years later. I never cared if my work was rejected or if people didn't like what I did. And it served me really well, actually, now enabling me to have a reasonable income from being brave 30 or 40 years ago, whilst the people that were not brave have just disappear into oblivion, really. So it pays to be adventurous, it pays to be brave in photography.
A set of executives walked into a room in the big Broadgate complex, which is near Liverpool Street Station in London. They all surrounded this model, and one executive decided to point inside of the model, and his tie flapped into the model.
I was born in a very, very humble background. I was a child of a factory workers. We lived behind all the factories. In those days, going back to the 50s and the 60s, it was a very polluted industrial area to the west of Birmingham. And I wanted to get out of it and try and do something a bit more interesting than ending up in a factory. Because that's where I was. I was in an office and a factory up until I was 21. And I wanted to do something a bit more exciting than that. I didn't care what it was. So I just left to study at art college. And it fell down over all the traffic on Bishopsgate. This is the time that fell down on Broadgate. The bands got the best out of the fact that, because I did advertising photography as well, they got the best out of my technical knowledge, because in advertising you had to create something you were told to create. So I was technically very proficient, so the bands got that side of me. But on the other hand, I experimented a lot with bands. I used them as guinea pigs, we call it in English, where you, like almost a test pilot, you know, you go in there and you try a technique that you've never done before. So I tried a lot of stuff, and compiling my work now for a big show of the history of my music, I can see all the techniques I developed, all sorts of weird things I experimented with, because we never had any money. We didn't have any money to do anything. We just had to look around the studio, look at something and use it. There was no money to do these things, no budgets. I look at it now and I'm so fruitful for me it is, that I spent all that time trying stuff and doing stuff.
For some reason, because the songs on the album, we wanted water in a boat, but we'd already done the seashore. So Brian came up with the idea of doing the cave in Cornwall, which has both a lake and it has the cave atmosphere.
By looking at the history of the covers before, they're always in a natural situation which looks extraordinary, and they're just doing very natural things like walking, standing up or rowing a boat. And that shadow there, that big like V shadow there, gives the illusion that the water goes on, round the back.
That's like cool with this as well.
I don't think we should put any colour in it at all, you know. I think it should be really
monochromatic.
Monochromatic. It'd be so easy to be very psychedelic with it.
Let's put some colour in the boat when they're in the boat.
Yeah.
Fate up against your will, through the thick and thin, he will wait until you give yourself to him.
Well, I mean, I like to think of myself as being creative, really, and I always have to nourish my own mind, really, by doing things differently than I did before. So I still feel really excited about what I'm doing. And it's funny that you mentioned the Susie shot, because she wasn't interested at all, actually. She was just almost like talking to someone to the side and just let me get on with what I wanted to do, you know. And she was very good, very polite, and she did what I asked of her, but she wasn't that interested. But that didn't bother me, really, because I was developing a techniques at that time. I was experimenting heavily with multiple exposures in the back of the camera. This is before computers were around, really, in photography. We were inventing things. I mean, in that particular picture of Susie, as an invention. And Susie was the first time I achieved it and actually executed that idea. Well, you have, I mean, we're changing again. In fact, I'm bringing a big book out on all my music history, like a really big volume. It's going to be like real tome. And that's why I want to see people walking around with this tome saying they like about it. Maybe they like it because it's a slice of time. Because I did something like 250 record covers. I mean, I was really one of the photographers from about 77 to 85. I was one of the ones, you know, as in photography for album covers, that is. And I art directed all my photography, you know. I basically came up with all those ideas, really. Well, certainly 99% of them.
Even further than that.
Bigger.
There. This gut feeling inside that tells you it's right. There's no real right or wrong. It's just that feeling inside your head that tells you it's right.
And huddle. Do you like walking out?
It could be a huddle, actually. Yeah, it's sort of like a walk out the picture. It's just a constant sort of working tool to formulate the end product. Just as an artist who's going, before he goes to his canvas, he does a lot of sketches and then transfers it to his canvas. I did that with my Polaroid. The solution may be not right, but a certain aspect of the solution could be right by just looking at a Polaroid. I absolutely improvise on the spot. Generally, because the only way to get a good picture is actually being faced with complete failure.
I've been watching you.
But what I liked about it was we're returning back to it now, but it was the age of vinyl. The wonderful thing about it was that you could produce a piece of photography that fitted on a 12-inch square album cover, and all your families, all your friends in all the towns of your country, your hometown, the whole world could see your work. And I love that side of photography, actually, is that you could walk down the high street and see all your photographs and your posters in the front windows of shops and things. That was a great, great feeling. And it made me want to do more and more of it. There were 2 or 3 that really have become quite famous now, like obviously Depeche Mode, massive. People seem to like all the albums I did for them. That's a really big one for me, really, now. And Echo and the Bunnymen, Iggy Pop, and all those sort of people. people are like really alighting on me, and it's interesting because I look at who comes into my website sometimes, and the whole of Russia's coming in, you know, on these album covers I did way back then. My music stuff is really, really becoming quite a major part of my oeuvre, or my history. Because I've always been interested in the other side of affairs, the businessmen I've portrayed very in a weird way, workers, my political stance with my photography, that side, you know, the commercial industry side, like the big annual reports I did. But the music's like, whoa, come up through, like, you know, exploded. Well, I mean, that was a real luxury, Mogwai. Because really I started to do film in about 1989, 1990. And I spent most of the 90s doing film. That was my prime objective, was to try and become a top film director. And Mogwai just came around somehow. I can't even remember. It just came from some way, like from the side, you know. And it was wonderful that they did, because their music lends itself so beautifully to film. You know, it's like soundtrack music in a way. So they came to me, they had no money whatsoever, like nothing. If you look at my Mogwai films, the first one is something, they're incredibly long, but the budgets are nil, you know. I had to ask a lot of favors of people to work on them with me. I mean, Stanley Kubrick was an interesting one. That's a weird one. I was in a gallery once, and there was this incredibly world-famous photographer in the gallery having an exhibition. And the BBC asked me what I thought of his work. And I said, it reminds me of a beautifully peeled potato. Goodness knows why I thought that, but that's what I said to the BBC. And when they came around with Stanley Kubrick, I listened to the Mogwai track, and there's a little squeak on it, little squeak on it. And I remembered this potato. And I got built a potato that operated by air. You know, you use like a pump, and it like, the potato goes, you know. And the story is basically that the lady, there's the lord of the manor and the lady of the manor. The lady of the manor is having an affair with the gardener. So they poison this potato, and she delivers the potato for the lord of the manor's dinner or lunch, eats it, and it kills him. That was Stanley Kubrick. The other Mogwai is a really personal one. That's a personal film about me and my ex-wife, actually. But it's when a guy goes back into the steam age, really. These furry boots transfer him back from modern times back into the steam age, and he comes back from there as well after he's visited it. So basically, I could do whatever I wanted, really. There was no money to do it. As long as I made it, they were happy to accept it. I wait for the bells to finish. Yeah, when I was doing album covers, I never realised that some of them would become quite famous. The most famous ones were Joe Jackson's Look Sharp. It was incredible when I did that in '79. That's the white winkle pickers with a piece of light going on, black and white shot. And I was walking down a street in Manhattan in New York, and this girl ran over the road. I don't actually knew I was the one who did it, but she ran across the road and kissed me. I went, oh my God, what you kissed me for? I don't even know you, you know. She said, oh no, you did the Joe Jackson Look Sharp cover. I went, oh right, yeah. The other one I really like is A Broken Frame for Depeche Mode, which was their second album. I really like that. That's a really good one. And then there's other odd ones. There's like Billy Idol become really famous. I did the Rebel Yell cover for Billy Idol. That may help to make him pretty famous, I think. The band I really enjoyed working with because they were great fun. And people seem to like the album covers. I sort of think, conceptually they're really good, because the band are only about that big all the time. That was Echo and the Bunnymen's albums. I enjoyed that. I mean, I'll always remember working on Soldier with Iggy Pop, because he just almost killed me, you know. He was just so impossible because of the state he was in.
Brian Griffin will now be presented with some mystery objects, after which he will attempt some mind-bending magic.
Walnut. Baby's rattle. Watering can. Fluorescent tube. Cauliflower. Palm.
If you're capable technically of doing stuff, you can think of an idea and you can actually bring it to life. But no, for me, it's important that I find new ways. I mean, people look to me to find new ways. People expect me to now. I've either got to stop, or if I'm going to carry on, I've got to keep on being adventurous. That's what people think people should be, how I should be.
The real photographic experience just clicks when the real camera is put away. In fact, when the shutter is pressed, normally it's not a true comprehension that it is a photographic experience. It's just a collection, more than an experience. The experience itself is the prime motivation and the importance of the experience. Breaking down the fact that the subject is in a strange environment, the photographic studio, and second, that he is about to be photographed. To take the photograph is like making films about breaking down barriers.